MicroStrategy has the optionality to do buybacks at a certain point, right? Like, let's say either Bitcoin becomes very illiquid and inaccessible on exchanges in large quantities. I think there's always going to be a tradable market for Bitcoin, but it might just be very, very small quantities that you can get in a day or a week or a month.
Welcome back to the channel. Aaron from the Bitcoin Bros here. That was Ryan from the Quant Bros, and we'll be checking out a clip later in the video. Stay tuned for that. He's going to be talking about why MicroStrategy is so powerful and what could take MicroStrategy to the next level. So I recommend you guys watch this one all the way to the end. A lot of useful information in today's video. And before that, we get into some updates around MicroStrategy and Bitcoin. And before we get into those, make sure to check out the link in the description and comment section below for MooMoo. You can sign up, get up to potentially 20 free stocks. Each one of these stocks could be worth up to $2,000 each. Make sure to sign up with MooMoo. You can buy MicroStrategy, do MicroStrategy options with MooMoo, and also make sure to check out our Patreon. We are revamping that. This is an example of a trade here that we did on election day, and we'll be sharing trade alerts and also options that we are looking to get into and out of. So make sure to check those out. They will be in the description below and also the comment section. And then from Cynthia Loomis here, we are going to build a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So this is a huge catalyst for Bitcoin. A lot of anticipation around a lot of this because Trump won the presidency, and Trump's like, I know a guy that will build the Bitcoin strategic reserve. So why are we showing this? Michael Saylor gave his digital gold rush presentation at the Bitcoin conference. And who else was there speaking? Vivek Ramaswamy. Trump also spoke at that rally. And Saylor was basically saying, hey, this is what the United States should do, putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So Michael Saylor, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's potentially going to be the advice from Trump on the Department of Treasury regarding Bitcoin. Trump could go to Vivek for that. They all spoke at the same conference. So it's potential that these guys already talked about Bitcoin. And also Trump's son retweeting Michael Saylor, we have a Bitcoin president. So these guys seem like they could be in cahoots. We could see Michael Saylor actually talking to Trump about how the United States should do this. That would be absolutely huge for Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. And one of the reasons why is the U.S. government is about to put $200,000 Bitcoin yearly buy order into the market. So the bill that Cynthia Loomis is introducing would actually buy 200,000 Bitcoin every single year. You add that with what Saylor's already doing, what the Bitcoin ETFs are already doing, you could see this Bitcoin price get very unrealistic very, very fast, which is be huge for Bitcoin, huge for MicroStrategy, huge for the entire crypto market. And shout out to British Hodl. He makes a prediction here. This would rise Bitcoin to $346,000 per coin. You guys can pause that there and read it if you want to. And then just to put things in perspective, MicroStrategy will spend $10 billion buying Bitcoin next year, which is more than the total amount it has spent buying Bitcoin since 2020. So you can see how much BTC they're going to be buying over the next couple of years. And it's going to be huge, guys. I mean, this is a massive amount of liquidity going into BTC, potentially leading to higher prices. It really does feel like we're very, very early on Bitcoin and MicroStrategy because you guys know you're on this channel, you understand Bitcoin. A lot of people out there don't understand Bitcoin. And then the amount of people that understand MicroStrategy is even smaller because you have to understand Bitcoin to understand MicroStrategy. So keep that in mind as well. But let's go ahead and get into what Ryan from the Quant Bros has to say about the future of MicroStrategy. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content that we come out daily. But let's go ahead and play the clip here. Let's check it out.
The Saylor premium and the Saylor phenomena, and having him as the lead spokesperson of Bitcoin, plus the fact that a lot of traditional asset managers would prefer an equity. And I think a lot of traditional asset managers or VC venture capitalist types or just old school investors, they're going to see this guy on a video at some point if they haven't already discovered him, and they're going to be looking around at their colleagues like, this guy has a stock. Why were we not in this 2 years ago? So I think Saylor's worth 3 points by himself. I think the convertible bond market / ability to sell shares at the money is worth 3 or 4 points right there. I think the the monopoly ownership of Bitcoin that MicroStrategy has in a lead that I don't think they'll ever be caught. I think that's worth 3 to 4 points, and then and so we're already like in the 10 ballpark there. And I could keep going with even smaller, more nuanced things, right? Like, IBIT is never gonna join the S&P 500. It's never gonna join the Nasdaq 100. It's never going to benefit from a change in FASB fair value. It's not going in the All Country World Index, right? And so I think all of those obvious advantages that are tilted towards MicroStrategy are worth a few points. Also, there's no fees to hold MicroStrategy, so maybe that's worth like half a point or something. But the key thing I think with MNAV as far as like trajectory and where it goes or where it's going to stay, I think it's going to be a volatile ride, right? Like I think all too often people think in terms of like equilibrium, or like once we get past this FOMC meeting or this CPI report or this jobs report or this down month historically for Bitcoin, then the coast will be clear and everything will settle out and volatility will, subside. But I just don't think that's the case. I think we live in like a constant state of boom bust cycles, a la George Soros, and I think MicroStrategy is as volatile as they come. I think that price is going to drift up into the right. Right. I think that's perhaps even more important than where MNAV goes. But yeah, this MNAV discussion is going to be with us for some time. It was either like the Swiss bank or the Finland bank had acquired MicroStrategy stock. And that was definitely not something that I would have predicted or had on my bingo card, as they say. And then when you combine that with the other known personnel on the cap table, so to speak. I mean, we're talking about George Soros, the guy who wrote the book on reflexivity. We're talking about Ricardo Salinas, one of the richest people in Mexico, huge Bitcoin bull. We're talking about, Adam Back, who probably doesn't need much of an introduction, a hardcore computer scientist, essentially invented the proof of work consensus mechanism. You're talking about Samson Mao, one of the biggest bulls on the street. And there's a couple other well-known names in there, but you combine that with the fact that central banks are buying Bitcoin. And then you can even combine that with the fact that Saylor's never sold shares from his core equity position. Never. I've looked hard for this, can't find anything. What he did earlier this year was, exercising an options award that he was granted in 2014, which he probably would have let expire worthless had they never taken the Bitcoin journey. And as he said, he would have retired into obscurity. So between the nation states, between the heavy hitting, well-known investors, between Saylor having no clear intentions of ever selling from his core position, I think the cap table of MicroStrategy ownership is remarkably strong and is on a path to get even stronger. I think the writing's on the wall that MSTR is going to report on a FASB fair value accounting standard for Q1 of 2025. The only 2 points that would have made sense would have either been, at MSTR World this year when they were either first eligible or just maintain that time optionality to get clarity on like who's going to win the election, because that's going to have implications on like what could a potential tax policy look like. So it really only made sense to either be, first to market or just maintain the optionality of time to just gather more information before switching. Plus, the other good thing there is that if we have a materially higher Bitcoin price, or even just higher by 50, 60, 70% than we would have had at the end of Q1 of this year, that's going to make the post FASB impact even larger, because it's clearly a function of the price of Bitcoin. That I think this will be a more dramatic, just vertically ripping higher in terms of net income for MicroStrategy versus what Tesla had in 2020 and 2021, because I think we're going to go from a gap of a number that's basically around zero on net income from MicroStrategy to a number that could be 9 billion or 10 billion in net income in one quarter. Could be a little bit off there, and of course it also depends on the price of Bitcoin.